Okay, welcome back to training again. So, if you are only going to practice one piece of training for the whole of the time that we are on lockdown and not attending classes, then your most important piece of training is your watch. Think of it like this. I used to be a teacher for 26 years, so I would teach a class of maybe 30 children. And out of those 30, maybe 20 of them, if I was talking to them, would be looking directly at me and listening to me. Those were the children that were listening and learning. The other 10 maybe were playing with their shoes, talking to the person next to them, looking out the windows. Those were the children that were not listening and therefore not learning. They might take in some of what I said, but they certainly weren't taking in 100% of it. And it's exactly the same with our dogs. So the dogs that I see that people are having problems with, inevitably are the dogs that are looking out, looking at something in the distance, looking at the other dogs in classes, but not looking at their owners. And that's what we want to eradicate. So the dogs that are going to perform the best for you in every way, be it recall, be it loose lead walking, be it sit down, agility, whatever you want to do, those are the dogs that are looking and listening to you. So that's what we're going to train today. We're going to train the watch. Now, I don't train the watch with any sort of cue. I train it as a behaviour that your dog should be doing all the time. So whenever you are engaging with your dog should be engaging back with you. Now, I do teach it in different ways. So you might think that while I'm doing these videos that I'm using dogs that have already had quite a lot of training. But because with Lily, she is trained to show, I've taught her the watch to my hand. So what I've taught her to do, and I'll show you, is she will watch my hand like this. As you can see, good. That's her hand, you like that one. She's been taught the watch to my hand. The reason being that if I'm standing in the show ring, I want her to look into, almost as if she's looking into the distance. That's the stance for a show dog. So she's been trained that if I point my finger and hold my hand out, she stands alert and watching my hand for as long as my hand's there. She then gets a reward. And I'm going to now change that to get her to look at me, which is actually much harder than you're going to do starting from day one. So the training I'm doing is just as hard as you're going to do. Now, there is one word that you're going to need for your training, and that's your reward marker. So your reward marker is just a word like yes, good, clever, something like that. Try and avoid using good girl or good dog or their name. Try and keep it as short and sharp as possible. Dogs, unfortunately for us, don't understand English. Therefore, we need to make the sounds that we're going to use for training as short and sharp and quick as possible. If you've ever heard of clicker training, that uses the sound of a clicker, like this, to mark a behaviour. We're using a word instead. We call it a reward marker. So we're using good, yes, clever, or whatever else. Okay? So to train your watch, all you need to do is to have your dog to start with in a confined space. It could be outside on lead. It could just as easily be in your kitchen or your lounge or wherever else you want to do your training, just like Lily is now. You do need some high value treats, and I can't emphasise that enough. A lot of people want to use either the dog's kibble or food, or they want to use a commercial treat that you can go out and buy for 99p or whatever. They are not high value for the dog. Yesterday's training showed you how to find out the best high value treats for your dog. So hopefully you'll have already found them. So for Lily today, I've got a mix in here of ham, which was definitely her favourite yesterday, cheese, which was her second favourite, hot dogs and liver. And I'm predominantly going to use the ham and the cheese, which are on the top. But she never knows quite which one she's going to get. So it keeps her interested. So I've got a mix of treats in here. She never knows what she's going to get. As you can see from her at the moment, she is most interested in my treat bag. And I want to change that and get her to be interested in me. So I'm just going to pop my treat bag out the way so that she's not going to be staring at that all the time. So I'm just going to have it behind me. Now there's two ways generally that I teach the watch, so I'm going to show you both ways. So the first one, I'm literally going to take a treat and I'm going to throw it on the floor. Now this is where your patience comes in, because Lily's going to eat the treat and then she's going to come back and say, thanks mum, where's the next one? Now at the moment, as you can see, she's not looking directly up at me, but we're going to reward approximations. So she's looking at the floor, nothing. If she looks at me, good. My reward marker is good, so I give her a reward marker and then I throw out another treat. It's over there. There. Okay, and again I'm going to wait. Good. So this time she's straight back to look at me. I'm going to throw out another treat. She's not very good at using her nose. Good. Good. Notice she totally ignored the cheese even though she found it because she just wants the ham. Good. Good. I waited a little bit that time because I wanted her to look towards me, not towards my hands. I want her to engage with me. Good. That time she looked straight up at me and I met her eyes. So I'm quicker to reward if she looks towards my face than I am if she looks towards my hands. Hands she understands, face she doesn't. Because she's been trained to look at my hands, what I can do is bring them up here. Good. She's not doing anything wrong, she's trying her hardest. What she's saying is, I don't understand the rules of this new game. Good. So each time I'm making it just slightly harder for her. I put my hands out the way so she hasn't got those to focus on. I'm just making it slightly harder so she's looking more and more towards my face. She's engaging with me beautifully. What she isn't understanding is where she's got to look. Good. Okay, she did really well at that. Considering that she's been trained to look at my hands, she's beginning to understand, Mum wants something different this time. Now, there is another way that we can train the watch, and I would always use a combination of both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show Lily that I've got a treat, and I'm going to hold the treat out here. Naturally, she's going to look out here, and I'm going to wait. Again, patience. Good. What she did then was look towards me. Oh, there's the ham. Same thing again, but I'm going to swap hands. Patience is the most important thing when you're training dogs. Because she's naturally good. Good girl. Because she's naturally been taught to look at hands, she finds it really, really difficult to look at my face. So I'm going to reward not from the hand that I've got the food in. So I'm going to show her the food. Hand goes out. Good. Yeah, that's the ham. That's What's the one you like? No, that's G, so that's Ham. Good. All of this training is about patience and timing. So the biggest thing that can go wrong is, one, we just don't have the patience. We're not prepared to wait for them to look. So we start to do things like say Lily, which is a different response from her. We're not asking her to respond to her name. We're asking her to respond by looking at us, giving us attention. The second mistake that people make is that they will say the reward marker at the wrong time. For example, when the dog's looking at your hand, when the dog's looking at the floor, or they leave it too late and wait till the dog's looking away from them. So think of your reward marker like a photograph. The photograph is when the dog is doing exactly what you want. So at the moment Lily's looking at my hand. That's not what I want. I want her to look at me, preferably at my face. Good. So she glanced up. As soon as she glanced up, I put in a good. So my hand is here. She knows my hand's here. She knows the food's here. I'm waiting for her now to look at me. So now I'm trying to connect this in her mind. So at the moment she's looking at my hand, which my hand is next to the food. She knows that. And now I'm waiting for her to learn that actually the reward comes when she looks at me, not at my hand. Good. I'm watching her eyes. So I'm looking for her eyes to be looking at me. At the moment, I will accept her looking about here. Eventually, I will only accept her looking at my face. Good. Okay, have a go at that. That was quite a long period of training because I was doing a lot of talking. Normally, I would expect to do that 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, but for literally 2 minutes or maybe 3 minutes, no more. So get yourself a little handful of food and that will mark your time. So maybe 10 bits of food and that's it. Try both methods. Eventually what you would look at is that you just stand here and your dog is focused on you all the time. And that's what we're looking at. You can see with Lily, she is looking around the floor because that's where the food is good. But she's starting now to focus on me. Good girl. And the ham. Yeah, the ham's nicer. So she's starting now to look towards me. So I'm training her away from looking at my hands towards looking at my face, because that's what I want to achieve. Okay, so tomorrow we will start to look at her name and using her name. Again, another thing that people find really difficult with training. Good luck, practice at home. Thank you.